Good Friday afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here on Wave Now. I'm Myra Ansari. Hope that you're doing well. Today, we're going live to Harrison County, where the officials there are giving us an update on a homicide case. So what we know about this case is that 2 people were arrested. In this link here that you're joining me in on, I've posted some background information, the latest information that we had prior to this press conference. Police tell us that David Woolsey Jr. and Edward Powers, they are charged with murder, arson, and obstruction of justice. Deputies believe that the 2 men shot and killed David's father, David Woolsey Sr., and then set his home on fire to cover up the crime. This is according to the Harrison County Sheriff's Office. Woolsey Sr. died in March, so they're holding a press conference right now. We're waiting for them to get started on that. Wanted to bring you these details live here. So just stand by and wait with us as we wait for officials to come out.
Your tripod's like fingernails on a chalkboard. No, sorry, I'm going to move it. Yeah. I used one of those when I was part-time at the station. Hello. Open the door here. All right. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Well, first, good afternoon. My name is Otto Schalk. That's Otto Schalk, and I'm the prosecuting attorney for Harrison County. So before we begin, I would like to state that both the defendants shall be presumed not guilty throughout the entire process until proven otherwise. Likewise, all information discussed here today can be found in the probable cause affidavit that was filed with the Harrison Superior Court. So earlier this morning, both David Woolsey Jr. and Edward Powers were arrested and are each facing charges of murder, arson, and obstruction of justice. These charges stem from an investigation that began on March 15th as deputies with the Harrison County Sheriff's Department responded to a structure fire at 5969 Old Highway 11 in Elizabeth, Indiana. An unidentifiable body was recovered in the ashes after the Elizabeth Township Fire Department was able to extinguish the fire that had completely engulfed the home. The body was later identified as David Woolsey Sr., the alleged father of one of the co-defendants, David Woolsey Jr. A forensic autopsy would later show that the individual that was recovered from the ashes died from an apparent gunshot wounds, not fire-related injuries. As for the specific details of the investigation, I will defer to the probable cause affidavit as well as to Sheriff Smith. I would point out that this affidavit illustrates a premeditated, calculated, and intentional killing. I would like to say in my 15 and a half years of being the prosecuting attorney of Harrison County, I have never seen a more thorough or thoughtful investigation than this case. The amount of hours spent, the attention to detail, and the interagency cooperation is something that I'm extremely proud to be a part of, and I think Harrison County should be as well. The investigation began while the home was still smoldering on March 15th and continued all the way until the probable cause affidavits were filed yesterday, nearly 2 months later. While Harrison County is not unfamiliar with violent crime, fortunately, it remains somewhat of a rarity in our rural community. We are grateful for the patience and support of our community that allowed this investigation to be thoroughly conducted. Both Mr. Powers and Mr. Woolsey Jr. had their initial hearings on these charges earlier this morning. They are currently being held in the Harrison County Jail without bail. Both defendants have jury trials that are tentatively scheduled for October of this year. If convicted of the murder charge, each defendant is facing up to 65 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Sheriff Smith, and then after he's done, I think we'll be able to answer any questions that you all have. So thank you all.
Thank you, Nick Smith, the Sheriff of Harrison County. I would spell it, but I believe you guys can get that one. It's pretty common. There's a lot of information, so I would be remiss if I didn't look at some notes to make sure that you got it accurately. Again, as the prosecutor said, any detailed information can be found in the probable cause affidavits, and it would be a good source for you. It's a long read. In the early morning hours of March 15, 2025, 51-year-old David Sean Woosley Sr. was home alone at his residence located on Old Highway 111 in Elizabeth, Harrison County, Indiana. Under the cover of darkness, two adult males approached Mr. Woosley's house and murdered him while he was in his bedroom. One male was armed with a semi-automatic 12-gauge shotgun, while the other carried a semi-automatic AR-style 300 blackout rifle. Standing outside the residence and concealed by darkness, these individuals fired their weapons. Mr. Woosley was struck in the head by numerous .30 caliber bullets fired from a 300 blackout rifle. This was a planned attack. Mr. Woosley, alone in his bedroom and likely caught by surprise, stood no chance of defending himself. The attackers carefully removed all spent shell casings from the scene. In an attempt to destroy evidence of Mr. Woosley's murder, the house was set on fire and left to burn. Shortly after 2 a.m., Harrison County 911 received a call reporting a structure fire. The Elizabeth Fire Department responded, fought, and eventually extinguished the fire. Mr. Woosley's unidentifiable body was located in the ash of what once was his home. Subsequent DNA analysis have confirmed Mr. Woosley's identity. An autopsy, fire investigation, a police investigation examining witnesses, security camera footage, cell phone history, social media activity, geolocation data, ballistics, cellular forensics, search warrants, purchase histories, text messages, and internet search history uncovered a multitude of evidence. Highlights include, but are not limited to, the shotgun used in this crime was recovered from a pond on an adjacent property behind Edward Powers' residence. This shotgun was previously purchased by David Woosley Jr. Cases of specifically branded and manufactured 12-gauge shotgun shells were recovered from a pond along Glass Overlook Road near David Woosley Jr.'s residence. A search of David Woosley Jr.'s property uncovered numerous 12-gauge shotgun wads that matched the brand and markings of the shells found in the pond on Glass Overlook Road. The lead balls from within the shotgun shells recovered from the pond match lead balls found at David Woosley Sr.'s house within the debris of fire. Parts of a disassembled 300 blackout rifle purchased by Edward Powers were located in the basement of Powers' residence. A .30 caliber suppressor purchased by Edward Powers was also located in his basement. The bullets recovered from David Woosley Sr.'s body match a specific .30 caliber projectile commonly and often used in subsonic 300 blackout ammunition manufacturing. Edward Powers' vehicle was captured on a camera on Highway 150, traveling in the direction of David Woosley Jr.'s house shortly before the fire and only after receiving multiple calls from Woosley Jr. Detectives also recovered evidence showing that Edward Powers purchased a brass catcher just days prior to the murder. As a conclusion of this investigation, which was very long and very consuming for the detectives, everyone involved, and their families, along with the family of the deceased, in the early morning hours of today, Friday, May 9th, our officers and detectives, working alongside members of the Southeast Regional SWAT team, swiftly and safely apprehended Edward Powers and David Woosley Jr. for their warrants, and the mission was successful. No incidents occurred. No one got hurt. This arrest marks a significant milestone in a complex and thorough investigation led by the dedicated officers and detectives of the Harrison County Sheriff's Department with the help from a lot of different agencies. We work together daily. We work together constantly, and we never stop. It doesn't matter what the badge or uniform you wear is. The vested interest in public safety is the same for all agencies. Thousands of hours were poured into this investigation. And through their professionalism, specialized training, and unwavering determination, our team has brought justice for the victim and safety for our community. We would like to extend our sincere appreciation to the Indiana conservation officers and their dive team members whose assistance in evidence recovery was invaluable. Their expertise played a critical role in advancing this case. We are grateful for the direct collaboration and steadfast support we have from Prosecutor Otto Schock's office. Their partnership with our department was instrumental in securing the necessary warrants and the legal actions that led to this successful outcome. The Harrison County Coroner's Office, Jeremy McKim, who's to my left, has worked hard with us on every case we've worked when it includes a death and many others. In this case, we would like to thank him for the essential support during this investigation. His contributions have been greatly appreciated, as they always are. Additionally, we would like to thank all the other agencies for their support and assistance in this case. It's a big case. It took a lot of time and it went a lot of places. These agencies include the FBI, the ATF, the Indiana State Police, the Indiana Crime Lab, and the State Fire Marshal's Office. It's one big team with the same goal. We thank the public for their patience and support. To echo what Prosecutor Schock said, this was a long case without a lot of information. We really appreciate the patience and support. Together we stand in the pursuit of justice for each of us. We ask, and it's important to ask, so we reach out and we ask anyone that may have any more information about these individuals, their habits, their behaviors, or anything firearms related, reach out and call us. We are in this together. Our telephone number is 812-738-2195. If you have information involved in this case, please reach out. Our final thanks goes directly to the family of Mr. David Woosley Sr. We thank you for your patience. Until this morning, we were limited in the information we could share. Your patience has been incredible given the circumstances. Please keep David Woosley Sr.'s mother, brother, sister, children, friends, and family in your thoughts and prayers as they mourn this tragic and horrific loss. I'm going to give this back to Otto. He might have some more things for you, and then we can take some questions with whoever you need.
So at this time, I think Sheriff Smith and I will do our best to answer any questions that you may have. Please understand we have certain things that we can talk about. There's a lot of things that we're not allowed to talk about, and I may very well redirect you to the probable cause affidavit. But Sheriff, if you want to come up with me, we can just kind of, you guys just want to fire away and we'll do our best to figure out who should answer what.
Yeah, one question just to start off. Obviously, there were a lot of people you all talked to during this investigation. Can you just talk about how you were able to rule out some of the people that have been interviewed as not suspects or not knowing what Mr. Powers and Mr. Woosley had done?
Good.
So I think as it all begins with evidence collection, and that evidence ultimately starts to paint a picture. And as we collect more evidence, that starts to highlight who we should be focusing our attention to and who we can shy away from. I don't think this case is any exception to that. I think if you, in the 32, 34-page probable cause affidavit, there's a lot of names mentioned in there. There's a lot of interviews. At varying points, there was different attention paid to each person, but as the evidence became more cumulative, it really helped us focus our attention on where charges should lay.
And I could echo that by saying, you talk to a lot of people, there's information. If you don't ask the right question, they just don't tell you. They're not hiding anything. They just don't know the answer. There's follow-ups you do with people. Anytime we do get a story and we think it's something that we need to pursue, we have to look at other evidence to see if it corroborates the things they say, places they are, people they're around, and other parties or witnesses that know the same information. So you'll see that in the affidavit, but that's the same with all cases, as Prosecutor Schock had said. So I can answer by saying We will never speculate on a motive. Our job is to collect all the factual evidence we can. Obviously, there's motives that can be seen or determined by any reader of the same information, but we'll leave that for the prosecutor and whatever happens during trial.
How many man hours do you think went into this investigation? Because there's so many different.
There's a lot of people. So, and people don't work for free. So there's budget restraints and everything else, but they're not limited because of that. Officers, there's numerous officers that received hundreds and hundreds of hours of overtime. So there are thousands of hours spent, maybe not overtime, but thousands of hours spent between the team members, whether it be our detectives, our road officers, the coroner's office, Indiana Conservation, everybody that played a part. It's a huge process, and they did well. It's amazing to watch individuals with really good specialties work together and pull things like this off.
It sounds like there was an attempt to really spread out the evidence, break apart the firearms that were used, if I was understanding that correctly. Can you just walk us through a little bit the process of trying to piece it all together and knowing where to look, just a little bit more on the investigation into this?
So without getting into a lot of information, because there's a pretty good sized document you're going to see how intricate it is. But firearms have things that can be tested. Firearms have handles and serial numbers. And when you're trying to conceal things, there's parts you may want to take off, and there's parts you may want to hide, maybe parts you want to keep, maybe parts you think aren't important. The strategy of the detectives is to uncover every stone, to look at every angle, to not let any evidence lock them on or lock them out of future evidence. And with that, you've just got to separate it. You've got to look at it, you've got to understand it, and you've got to work every angle. There's a lot of things that we found. There's some things that'll never be found. But the work that got put in, I think we found a lot more than what would be expected.
Also in the PCA, there was just some talk about maybe these individuals not being in a normal mental state. Can you talk about that a little?
So I think we're going to rely on what's in the probable cause affidavit. I don't want to speculate at this time. I think it would be too early to make any comments regarding their mental state. And so we will let the process play out and go from there.
Maybe just to have you put it in some words, can you talk a little bit about the backstory between these individuals, the relationship with the victim, and just how it seemed a little rocky?
So I think at this point, I would probably, again, I'm not trying to give you the cop-out answer, refer to the probable cause affidavit, but I think the probable cause affidavit does a good job of illustrating that there was certainly some contention and the reasons why that contention may have been, but I'll defer to that.
I don't remember, you may have said this and I just missed it, but one of the suspects and the victim are related.
Yes, so David Woosley Jr. is the alleged son of the deceased, Mr. Woosley Sr.
When arresting Woosley Jr., was there any resistance? I know that there was no actual incident of anybody harmed, but was there any resistance? Or since then, has there been any remorse from him? How has he been acting?
So people have due process, and when they're arrested, we don't talk to people in certain cases. We have seen no behavioral problems out of anybody, but when they were arrested, there was no resisting. The way that we try to conduct the apprehension of people in crimes like this is to minimize all risk of injury to them, any risk of injury to us, and any risk of injury or flight or pursuit for the public. And in this case, very good ops plans were done by two teams simultaneously in two different counties, and they both were stopped in a vehicle in a very safe, isolated fashion with zero resistance. They cooperated with that, and they safely got apprehended. So I give it to the men and women that come up with the ways to do that and the teams that put it to the test. So.
And then the next court date is June 12th?
Yes, so there's a pretrial conference on June 12th. That will be a pretrial conference that's conducted outside of court. Those are just conducted amongst the attorneys. Then there's a final pretrial conference, I believe that's scheduled in September, and then a tentative jury trial scheduled for October. As you're likely aware, I say tentative because dates can change, they can be advanced, they can be continued. But today was the close of, in many ways, the close of the investigative chapter, and we now turn the leaf into a new chapter of the trial and the outcome of that case. So.
And obviously, we still have due process and things to go through, but what does it mean, I guess, for y'all to see this kind of piece together? You said that you probably found more than those cases like this, you would have. I mean, when it comes to just finding an unidentified body in the shotgun wounds, I mean, just starting from that and to getting to where you guys are pretty confident in what you found, just what has that been like to see so many people come together and be able to present this?
I said earlier, in my 15 and a half years of being prosecutor, I've never seen a case that has been more thoughtful and or thorough than what this case was. And ultimately, I'm proud to be part of a bigger objective, which is keeping Harrison County safe for everyone's family. And, I think this case illustrates our hardworking men and women of law enforcement, in particular, the Harris County Sheriff's Department put in, it is not hyperbole when we say thousands of hours went into this case. That's not hyperbole. That's not exaggeration. This has been a very lengthy, long, arduous investigation. But ultimately, because of that investigation, we were able to have a judge find probable cause. We were able to bring charges and at least to close that initial chapter. There's thousands of man hours left as we pursue the next chapter of this.
Just to echo that, it's their training. They work hard, they care. I'm not the one that's doing the work. I help them. But they're leading the way and charging forward. And it's amazing when you see the new people come in and they learn new things and they apply it and they work together to do so. The investigations, there's always two parts. There's the first part that gets us here. There's telephone calls that we may get that take us even further. So again, to the public, if there's any information you may have, share it.
My last question, I promise, is just what message do you have for the community now? I'm sure whenever this happened, it was probably unsettling for a lot of people. Just when it happens in a town that a lot of people know each other. Just what do you have for the community right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for the community is to know that in the investigation, we identified no other participants in this murder. Both of them are in custody. The community is safe. I have to go back to saying thank you for your patience. The hardest thing to do sometimes on a big case is have so many questions answered. And as you see social media, everybody's got a way of seeing it. It clutters things. It makes it hard. I know a lot of people have really good intentions, but between the family and the community, they're the support mechanism that makes it all possible.
All right. Thank you all
Thank you,
very
guys.
much.
God bless you.
I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for staying with me on this stream. Wave News anchor Brian Schlonsky is going to have much more on this story for us coming up later here on Wave News. And I will see you on Wave Country at 2 and then Wave News at 3. Have a great day.